So this section is only for those of you who are going to be doing a lab or research-based event. So if you're doing a engineering event, you can watch the next video. So for those of you who are doing a lab or research-based event, make sure that you use the template that is available to be downloaded off the training page of the Florida Science Olympiad website, and that link is in the email that I sent previously. So this will really help out with the structure. It'll help organize your thoughts. So go ahead and download that. It also ensures that we've got a place to put in the raw score. The team number. Team number is very critical. Not so much the team name, but certainly the team number. And then one thing to be aware of is that the students are allowed to break this apart and split it between the two, because there's only one test packet or one lab sheet that goes to the team of 2 students that come in for each of the teams, each of the larger teams. So make sure you use that. So when you are designing these events, there are 42 teams, which means that you should not have anything less than 42 points, because it will result in immediate ties. And what I would recommend with 42 teams is making at least 80, 90, 100 point test. Make sure that you read the rules, know what is going to be tested, look at the clarifications page, and then write according to those. And so those rules are available to be downloaded. I can send them to you as well. And then when you are writing these, make sure that you write them so that about a third of them are pretty easy, a third of them are medium hard, and a third of them are very hard. This is not a test that we're doing for proficiency. Instead, this is a competition. So we don't want everybody to get 100%, because then how do we break ties at 100%? Likewise, we don't want it to be so hard that there's a whole bunch of teams that get 0%. So again, we're not going for proficiency. We're trying to really spread these scores out across teams that have prepared quite well to those that have not. Also, read the rules. There might be guidance in the rules on how ties are broken, but if there is not, then post in the room how you are going to break those ties. So breaking those ties could be that you identify preset questions. You can have a separate set of questions, but just make that transparent to the teams. The easiest is you've got your test, and you just identify question 1, question 3, question 5, so on, will be used to break the ties. If you're going to do an essay, which we don't recommend doing an essay, however, like disease detectives, it's nearly impossible to not do an essay, because there's some analysis that has to be done on that event. You want to write up the question, write up your answer, and then go through your answer and identify the parts that are critical for what would be considered 100%, what would be considered 80%. So you're going to be creating a rubric that you can use to objectively score. You won't be alone in any of these events. You're going to have other people helping you. So you need to make sure that you are normed across each other, that you have got the same scoring criteria when you're doing the event. So you want to make your scoring as transparent as possible when you're working on these. If you're doing a calculation, then you can identify a range of points, because particularly if students are measuring something, there's going to be automatic error. So we can't expect the students to get the exact right answer, because we're not giving them knowns out to 10,000 decimal places. So you would probably give a range then. Let's say if the answer is supposed to be 56.7 newtons for this calculation, if they're determining the force, then you might say, give an error of measurement that anything between 58 and 55, which 56.7 falls in between, they would get the full set of points at 5 points. If they're beyond 58 or beyond 55, out in this range, they might get 3, and if they're beyond that as well, they might get 0. So this takes into account the measurement errors that might be that might occur in an event. Now, of course, if this is given as a question, then certainly this would not be the case, because you're given a question with known quantities, and so it's assumed that the accuracy is very far out there. You want to be very clear about what you want the students to do, especially on the lab-based events. You want to stay away from any tricky questions and try to be as hands-on as possible. Even for the test-based events, there might be ways that you can bring in some hands-on activities. For example, astronomy, you can look at the spectra. And then make sure that on everything that they're writing on, that there's places for their team names, their team numbers and their names. And that is particularly important if they're going to rip things apart.